there's been a lot of drama going on lately with the version 2 release that was shown in the headline, because a lot of people were expecting a whole bunch of different things with it, because they've been calling it an ultra evolution or or like a big release when it's mainly just, you know, LTQ, Sonic collab, Ghost in the Shell, which, I mean, that's pretty nice, but it's like another collab with just AC scratch, and then Creative Spaces, which for a lot of people is just like side content that they may or may not do. It's nothing really too evolving except for this right here, which evolves personal quarters from base game into these like Minecraft spaces. Everything else that we were shown is pretty much reskins or just like more of the same kind of content. I guess you could argue that like cell shading is kind of like an evolution thing, or maybe the portable holograms. But as I see it, this is just like reusing like assets for portable holograms, because it said you have to buy new things of it with the objects, effects, and paint, instead of it being like, oh, if you bought the furniture, you also have it as objects, or if you bought stamps, they work as paint. It's not like that. You have to rebuy these things. They're trying to get more money out of you, which yeah, it's just really stupid. But yeah, when you go through all of these things, there really isn't too much in terms of evolution. It's more AC scratches, quality of life that they have been doing, level increase, reusing Alio for a third time. Yeah, for the Starless here, they're just like reused assets once again, and you could argue that they are evolved as well from like the enemy type, but I feel like they need to be a lot different than what the dolls were, because the dolls, I guess, are supposed to mimic, you know, the Starless in a way. So I don't know, like with these enemies, maybe they are just like a lot worse, or, you know, more dangerous because they can enhance themselves. It does look like they do some different attacks, but if they basically function the same, like you're doing the same kind of moves against them, like with this Diddle kind of looking one, where you just attack the center, attack the back, I don't know how fun that's going to be for like a video game standpoint. Yeah, going back to the top here, like we're getting as a new like kind of quest here, dual quests again. So phase 2 duels, which that means that it's going to be an unforgiving quest, as they say here. So solo only, no auto revive, and you only got 5 minutes. It's going to work the same way, but you can't use the previous like phase 1 Defi capsules. You have to re-get Defi capsules to make a new set. And it's just like the same exact thing, but with the Starless enemies instead. And there is no really like great amount of skill with this, in my opinion. I think it's just like using the Defi capsules to then beat the boss. There isn't anything like super crazy about this, and I don't think a lot of people liked it. But unfortunately, with like how Sega does their content, I feel like they already had this in like the works, since it was only like a month difference between Dual Quest Phase 1 and Phase 2. I just think that they should have waited to see how Dual Quests were received before just plopping this in as is. But we actually get told how Sega does their updates actually in the latest headline plus. Let's see, where is it at? There it is. So in the headline plus, they actually tell us a little bit about version 2 being like an era versus, you know, just like a major update, as well as some of the other reasonings behind why things are happening the way that they are.
This is the G-Wiz roadmap. This is what I can do for you. Best I can do for you, all right?
This is what we're capable of.
This is what I am trying to make it work for y'all, okay? Yagu says, okay, this is an interesting comment. Yagu says that developers need to be fired.
But developers need to be fired.
Is that an appropriate take? I don't think so.
Probably not.
I'd be embarrassed if I wrote that online.
Yep.
So, let's talk about the timeline.
Yeah, the timeline right here.
The original intention was for August's Quest and Creative Space to launch together.
Mm-hmm.
Do you were?
So there's like a mode for those of you who don't know that in August there's going to be some quest mode that deals with the combat, the gameplay, something that we've probably been looking for. So they're kind of talking about that here.
There in that meeting, right?
I was there.
Was it September of last year? When they
Sounds
sat us
about
down,
right,
we
yeah.
talked with SOJ. They were like D's. We all laughed.
Yeah.
And they showed us
Yeah.
more stuff on version 2, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So you hear that? They talked about it in September of last year. So that means they're developing content way back then. So was that like 9 months, like a year, give or take? Like how long it takes for some of this content to get into the game. You can also kind of see that when they do contests with like the AC scratches. So a lot of the content that we see isn't like influenced by the players until a year down the line. There might be like just some like smaller things like here and there that they could do like quickly that you might see player feedback on, or things that they've already been like developing. So like we have seen some changes to the creative spaces because they did mention that they did take some of that player feedback from the initial like showing of creative spaces. So it's kind of like hard to tell like when things are like taken into account, because like you can say stuff in the Discord in that feedback channel, or just like on Twitter with the hashtag NGS headline or whatever, but who knows how long it'll take for them to actually implement it into the game, if they even see it in the first place. But I think they continue to say more stuff here
You were there in that SOJ. They were like D's.
about the
we all
version 2
laughed.
as an era.
And they showed us
Yeah.
more stuff on version 2, right?
Yes. Yes. My butt warmed a seat in that meeting.
It was a good time. And I was like, wow. All of this individually and collectively is really cool. But things shifted a little bit since then. So, August quest
They
type and creative
shifted.
spaces were originally meant to launch together. This, coupled with the new approach to story and quest delivery, trying to get quests out at a more often, essentially. Getting story out more often. This new quest type, creative spaces, those three elements together are essentially the plan for the next era of NGS, which at that time was tentatively named the Ultra Evolution Update.
Yeah, a lot of people are, clinging to that Ultra Evolution update thing, which I think is fair, because they said it was tentatively, right? But they still called it that, and they still call it that today. If you've noticed in some of their marketing, they still use the Ultra Evolution line. I don't know why people are saying, like, oh, now it's just version 2, so don't think of it as Evolution. When you actually look at their website here, I don't know if it shows on this new page. Yeah, it doesn't say it here, but in their last promo, let's see, I gotta find it in the millions of tabs. Is it this right here? Yeah, they say Ultra Evolution Update right there, along with version 2. So that just still proves to say that they are still using that. Plus, in that promo or the trailer that showed at the end of the headline, this is like a separated version to show it just as is. They also say Ultra Evolution in the description with version 2. So it's one and the same. They're no longer not, using it. They're still using it. So it's supposed to be evolved stuff or an Ultra Evolution. It was supposed to be a major update still. But a lot of people did not see that as the case, as we showed with all these things here. Just reskins, more of the same kind of content. It's not much of an evolution, is it? So that's probably why they kind of killed that from the page that they released just a few hours ago today, because people don't think that. It's not a thing anymore. It's just version 2 now. It's the version 2 era. It's like kind of the PR tactic that they've been currently using. Let's see if they have anything else to say. Where is it? Right here.
So then, in October of that year, very shortly after, we gave a preview on Creative Spaces. Do you remember the first Creative Spaces trailer and the reactions to it?
Yes.
Chat, do you all remember the Creative Spaces first trailer? Do you remember
Do you guys
the reaction?
remember? Do you guys remember?
Even some people who have nothing nice to say had some nice things to say that day.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were hype about the Creative Spaces because it was something that was kind of teased like before. Like, Personal Quarters will make a return in NGS, but people just weren't sure how it was going to be done or when it was going to happen. So when it was announced and shown that it was going to be way better, people were hyped for it. But at the same time, I don't think people were thinking that it would replace combat or gameplay. It was just going to be more of a side thing added on top. But that was not the case with this latest headline or what we were shown with this version 2 update. It pretty much like that was the huge focus that they dumped all this time and resources into So then they couldn't really, develop the, new kind of stuff that people have been wanting, with evolving, like how maybe like gear works, the area itself, because we're still on Halpha after this update. I think even if people weren't expecting like a new zone or a new, region wherever, I think people were still expecting that the landscape would change in some way. Like there would be some sort of impact with the Starless arriving, but from what we saw in the headline itself, it doesn't look like it's going to change in any way. We're still going to be facing a lot of the same enemies, being in a lot of the same areas with this new Ultra evolution. I don't know if they have anything else here, but let's see.
And as they were developing it, as they were working on creative spaces, they got to cooking.
Yeah.
They got to cooking.
They were cooking.
did.
Oh,
Yeah,
they were
did.
cooking,
The
all
dev team
right.
began to see the
They're cooking
potential
just creative
in
spaces.
creating user-generated content elements.
Ooh, that Connect system.
You're better at it than I am. I suck at it, but you're good. I'm excited for all the stuff that y'all create. Y'all are smarter, more talented than me, so I'm excited for y'all.
Yeah, it's time to create your own content, guys. If you feel like there isn't any content in the game, you can create your own. There you go. But is it on the JP website? I actually did not check. Let's see. PSO2 JP. Yeah, they have a new page now, so I don't know. Super Evolution Update, so yes. They still call it that. This is also like Ultra, Super, same kind of thing. So JP also uses this wording, so it's not just like a global thing. So they're still saying that it's like an evolution. Yeah. So I'm sure like JP players are not happy about the majority of this either. But speaking of like, being happy or mad about it, a lot of people are arguing with each other over on Twitter, of course. Because, there's just like a lot of dispute with this. This is where the drama comes from, with people arguing with each other, being, against each other on like what they feel about what is happening. There's Thrift here who's saying, is a deflating experience. This really is becoming Sega's version of Overwatch 2. I think that's, it's way different though with that. I don't think it's nearly as bad as like the Overwatch 2 fiasco. Somebody brought it up before when we were reacting to the headline, but yeah, this is not even like on the same kind of scale because one, nothing was promised that was like cut from the game. They've really only said like this is a title of this update, version 2 Ultra Evolution. They didn't say exactly what was coming except for Creative Spaces, which they have delivered on Creative Spaces. With Overwatch 2, they promised this huge PvE mode, which was the reason why they made a whole new game for it. And then they cut it after years of like promising it. That was like a huge marketing for Overwatch 2. So I think that's like a very different scenario, but I kind of understand where they're coming from. Because people were expecting one thing and then something else kind of like, well, not really necessarily something else, but we just didn't get what we were expecting because they weren't very transparent with what they were like going to show us or saying what was happening in the future of this game. I think that's like the biggest part of all this is like transparency. I think Chrono said that in like their latest, like also addressing the drama. It's like a big thing about being transparent with the players because I think a lot of the players for PSO2 NGS are very forgiving as long as we're told what is happening. Like, sure, you can delay the thing to August, that's whatever. Like, I'm expecting it to come now. Like, imagine if Gwiz didn't say that at all. Like, they just said, oh yeah, quest mode, it's in August. So maybe that was the original plan or whatever, But it's just like hard to wrap your brain around when all they're saying is Ultra Evolution version 2. There's all these secret things. It's all a mystery with everything. They don't say anything except for like a little bit of a roadmap. Let's see. I believe I have the roadmap somewhere. Yeah, right here. So all they showed us was like this here, just like this little amount, when in previous roadmaps they showed us more, gave us a little bit more details, talked about it more. Yeah, the latest roadmap was so small, and a lot of it was limited time content. So all I said here, Ultra Evolution update, creative space implementation, level 75 cap, and additional class skills, which they later called version 2, which would hype it up even more, because version 2 is kind of like a callback to the Phantasy Star Online, the original one. So people just like were making things up with their imagination of what this could be, what else would be involved, instead of it just being creative spaces. But as it turned out, it was mainly just that. I think it's just like some, I guess like underhanded marketing with the game. Because they've done this for like quite a while, right? They've been like dragging us along saying these buzzwords. Some of the first stuff that they did with that was like super challenging quests when it was Geolab rank 1, which wasn't very, very challenging. It was bad. It was not good to where they had to eventually rework it recently, I think in January. Like they're the way that they're saying things are just like way off. So I wonder why they chose the word evolution. I honestly think it was just buzzwords. I think it was just like a big buzzword to get people talking, to string people along this kind of dead period. Because if you think about the last 6 months, there wasn't a whole lot in terms of like permanent content. There was Steel, which happened in December, which that was kind of like the big thing there. So that kind of helped with the month of December, but not too much in January, because a lot of people just finished the content, like the first week or two. And then I moved into limited time quests, which then led into Nuisance Plant at the end of January. So that's kind of like a permanent content, but it's just another combat zone, which that combat zone was, better in my opinion, but it's still a combat zone. So it's just kind of more of the same, just slaughtering all the same enemies. And with Nuisance Plant, it reused all the enemies from before, because how it changes to like Alio Room, Retem Room, Caveris Room. So it's reusing enemies. And then I went into Dark Falls Aegis, which that UQ was good, but with the UQs, they get kind of old after just doing them over and over and over, and they don't like change much. It just like you go in, kill the boss. That's what it is. Then after that, there was a new rank of Geolabyrinth rank 2, which was also good, but kind of felt like it wasn't Geometric Labyrinth anymore. Like there wasn't any procedural rooms. It was all just the same. It felt more of a Trainia or a tower versus Geolab. And there's like not too much in terms of like replay value in terms of fun. It's more just going in there to farm like the resources easier, like the different augments. After that, it was a little bit until we got Slayer as the new class, which that class is pretty good. I mean, it feels good to me. I definitely enjoyed it, but that, of course, like not everybody plays all the classes, so that could have just been like skip content for some people. And then there was Chapter 5 of the story, which that was actually pretty good. Chapter 5 got that earlier than usual, so that was good. But I believe that was everything in terms of permanent content. So, Nuisance Plant, Dark Falls Aegis, new rank for Geo, new class, and Chapter 5 for the last 6 months. Everything was like, limited time activities, limited time events, quests, whatever, to just kind of carry people along until this big update. One thing that I did not like seeing is on both sides of this, like both sides of the spectrum, people were being ultra negative, like as we saw with Thrift here, just saying this Overwatch 2 kind of deal when it's not. And then on the other side, people were being overly positive to where it's like, why are you guys being negative? I don't know if that's exactly what Skulls was saying here, but it kind of gave that vibe to me. There's so much negativity about the NGS headline today, and it's exhausting to see. And then just a big old yawn there. Just saying, like, why are you guys upset? I don't know if exactly how it is, but I don't know. I feel like attacking the players on this, like a player versus player, is just like not the way to go. Here's another one. This feels weird for me to say, but stop being all gloomy and down. Not every NGS headline needs to be a banger. That is true, but this was supposed to be a banger. Version 2 Ultra Evolution, it was supposed to be. It wasn't just like supposed to be some normal headline, you know, oh, this one could be good, this one could be bad, you know, a hit or miss. It was supposed to be the biggest one yet. Which I feel like for a lot of people was not the case. If you are excited for creative spaces, then for sure. That's fine. Like, you can be excited about the creative spaces. Like, I think a positive way to do that is with other people here. Like, with Paldea here, started a bit weak with the focus on creative spaces once again, but the end was fire. The new Sonic UQ looks so much fun. I think it's pretty evident that the devs want to focus on the open world gameplay. So it's just like being positive without attacking anybody. It's just like talking about Sega themselves or the headline itself. Same with this here. This NGS headline is probably the most I've been hyped for. I love that we're getting a base Sonic and Super Sonic and Chaos Emeralds and Aura. And blurring effects will save me so much time on my hands also. Apparently they nutted. Oh, great headline. Yeah, so like you can be positive about it. Like that's completely fine. Some people are going to be excited for the content. Some people are not going to be. I just don't think people should be like, oh, it's the player's fault for being upset. Or it's the player's fault for being, you know, happy about it. You should have expected this, you should have expected that. Like, I feel like that's just unfair to say. But I feel like this is like a good way to do it, like, negatively here. Okay, I'm trying to be polite here. What the fuck, Sega? Sorry, but I cannot find other words that better reflect how I feel. This is not the direction that the majority of the player base wanted the game to go, and that the last 2 official surveys proved it. So this is kind of like more directed towards Sega and not anybody else. I think Chrono put it pretty well. So Chrono said here, okay, so look, be disappointed in the lack of combat content for sure, but why are we blaming and harassing those who are excited about the quality of life and creative elements? We should advocate for ourselves, not looking to rain on others' parade. Arcs, do better. Arcs trash. Yeah, don't be a piece of Arcs trash. But you know, like you're just like you can be excited for this, you can be excited for other things. That's fine, and it's okay to be disappointed. You can have whatever emotions that you want for this. Let's see, what else do we have here? I think everything else is like pretty much similar examples. Safe to say I was expecting a lot more from that NGS headline, considering how it was being advertised. But I honestly shouldn't be surprised at this point. NGS just is what it is. It is what it is. I could have bigger changes planned later, but it's kind of unrealistic to expect them now. I think this is definitely fair. Sega has been doing this for a long time, you know, with PSO2 base or NGS, more with NGS in recent memory, that they've been saying these things, hyping things up, and then like it's just not meeting players' expectations, or just not as good as it should be. So, with the video that I did, let's see, like 6 months ago when they last showed the roadmap, I believe it was like the December headline or January, something like that, where I talked about, is PSO2 NGS going to die? Let's see, right here is, yeah, PSO2 NGS going to die in 2023. In here, I was being very, I guess, I don't even know if it's to say realistic, but like pessimistic on like what to expect. Like I was just trying to lowball it because that's how they've been doing it for so long. Realm Reborn update for NGS. Others are saying this will be nothing. Well, Hero Ride pretty much sums up what the update will be in the headline itself.
Finally, we're planning a major update for June in a whole new format that will...
I forgot that they said that. They did say major update. They did say that. Wow. They actually said major update. It wasn't supposed to be an era. Yep, there it is. There it is. There it is. Yeah, I think a lot of this talk about the era thing is probably just last minute trying to save our ass. Probably.
Will diverge from previous region releases.
And it says it's going to diverge from usual regional releases. So that, I guess, like in their mind, thinks, oh, we're not doing a new region. Which I guess you could like assume from that, yes, but I don't know. I feel like when you say it like that, it's supposed to be like something grand, a major update, and it's going to be different from the usual region releases. So planets, the new planet, whatever, or the landscape's going to change, something like that. Not reuse the same region. That's not what I'm expecting. Oh, dude. I mean, I guess I was expecting that,
Tentatively
but
called the NGS Ultra Evolution Update.
that's not what a lot of people were expecting.
Key content in this update includes the implementation of the creative space, additional class skills, and a level cap increase to 75.
Yeah, so they gave us that as like the main bullet points, which we did get all those things.
These are the key content to this update. Essentially meaning that these are the highlights or the major points of this update itself. I think this is just further reinforced by the update's name, Ultra Evolution. If we look back at when they announced Creative Spaces, they said it is personal quarters.
Yeah, so this is probably where they got the name. This is where they probably got
from this line.
Yeah, right there.
If we think back on what I said earlier, Sega is focusing on improving the quality of what they already have and bringing in higher quality new content. This is also hinted at.
Yeah, higher quality new content. I mean, I guess like Creative Spaces is that, but yeah, like even 6 months ago, I was like pretty much guessing what was going to happen with this Ultra Evolution update.
Says in the headline
it's just more of a revamp with some things, or just like quality of life changes.
The June update also includes plans for new content and enhanced features in addition to what we announced today.
So this is where we got thrown off. Like, this is what didn't happen. New content and enhanced features. I guess, like, you could argue the enhanced features with the quality of life changes. But the new content... Like, it was supposed to be additional new content? Was there anything? I don't think so. I mean, I guess... Portable holograms? Portable holograms, I guess they could be talking about? Or maybe the enemy type? Maybe? But, as we saw before, like, I guess... I don't think Gwiz was lying about this. I do think that they were originally planning that the quest type was going to be in June. I do think that that is the case. So that's probably what they were talking about, the new quest type, because they said that they were talking about this in September, so I'm guessing, like, this, yeah, was, this was January 7th? So this was after that headline there, or kind of like, the December headline. So, I'm guessing at that point they were still going to do that in June. They're still going to do that quest mode in June instead of August.
We hope to be able to share more details at a later date.
So there is proof they'll go beyond these bullet points. But for what will actually happen in June, if I was to be honest, I think the update may end up being a rehash of Halpha itself.
Yep.
Everything will get a new rank to be adequate for the new level cap, similar to what we have seen before last October. But
See, I told you guys that there's gonna be a rehash. I told you. Oh no.
I think more things will change as well. Previous content may be evolved or improved to meet the new standards, and then for the new content, I don't know for a fact what it will be, but I think it will be finally worthy of being called endgame content or introduce some sort of endgame loop.
Nope.
The reason
Nope.
why I say this is because for base game or classic PSO2, level 75 was a huge milestone for content like that, and Sega...
Yeah, we might still be able to see something later down the line. Like, maybe this quest mode. Maybe this quest... We're putting a lot of hopium into that one quest mode. I don't think the one quest mode is going to do it. I don't think it's gonna do that. Like, it'll probably be cool. Because to me, what they said so far about the boss is that it's going to have, like, positioning more in mind instead of just, like, countering. So it sounds more like a dungeon or raid kind of boss, or, like, encounter, quest, whatever. So that would be probably pretty cool, but I don't think it's going to completely change the game. Oh, no, it's... Like, a lot of my hopium got drained recently, based on what we were shown. So I guess like the little bit I have left is all just hinging on this August quest. I think that's what is happening for everybody else that hasn't like quit already. Is that whatever's in August, like we'll wait for that little bit. If that doesn't, if that isn't good, it's been a very 2 long years, like 2 years and a half at that point. So like, can we really cling on more and just keep hopium? Oh yeah, in the next update, guys, it's gonna be good. On the next update, guys, it's gonna be the best. Oh my god, the next update, that's gonna change the game. Like, I just can't keep doing it. I can't keep doing it.
Loves following patterns. Beyond those things, there might be new systems added like how they always do with a major update. With Converis, Sega introduced the Treasure Shop, Auto Sell, Alliance Quest, the Quest Counter, and more beyond that. But with all those things, do I think this will be on the same level as Realm Reborn for Final Fantasy XIV?
I don't know, will it?
Definitely not.
No.
At least not all at
No.
once. But I think it is a good sign that Sega is finally realizing that they can't just push out garbage and expect players to just want to play it.
I think that holds. I think that holds true. Is that they can't just push out just garbage. Like, I don't know if they're just now realizing that or they're realizing it sometime before, but they really just can't keep pushing out garbage. Like, players are going to have enough at some point. One YouTuber actually quit recently, Engine Noir. I can't really pronounce the name correctly, but they actually just straight up quit doing YouTube videos over what was shown in this headline. And I'm sure like other people quitting, I don't know about other YouTubers or like streamers or whatever, but like this has made like a huge impact. Like they just can't keep doing this. Like, I think they're actually going to kill off their own game by themselves. That's how it usually happens with games, because like a lot of people say, oh yeah, this game's gonna be the killer of this or that's gonna be the killer of that. Like the most recent one is Blue Protocol is gonna kill NGS. I think games kill themselves. Like, once you don't listen to the players, once you keep screwing with their expectations, people are just going to leave. Like, they're just not going to take it anymore. Like, there's other options out there. There's a lot of new options actually happening recently. I believe some people were saying it in chat, like Final Fantasy 16. I mean, there was Throne and Liberty, but apparently that's garbage. Blue Protocol got delayed, but that's going to be happening eventually. There's Diablo 4. There's just like so many other options for games out there that people could be playing right now that are doing a lot better in terms of like their updates and how they operate. That, like, I don't know. It's hard to say. And from like releases that I think are going to happen, they're getting closer to like how PSO2 plays. Because like the biggest argument as of late, or just like the entirety of PSO2 has been, there's nothing quite like PSO2. Like, in all honesty, there isn't anything that's exactly or like even really remotely close. Like, in terms of like the gameplay, how free like the accessory system is and like the cosmetics and all that. The creative spaces, like that's gonna be like a whole new thing that kind of goes above and beyond versus other games that have housing, like MMO wise. So I feel like eventually at some point there's going to be another game that's going to do it better and on a faster pace that would kind of like slowly take the players that are dropping this game from Sega doing this stuff and kind of go over to that. Not because the other game is, so amazing that's taking players that were playing this game over, but just because people are dropping this just for something else in general. Yeah.
Hopefully this carries through the rest of the year as well. Otherwise, I think it will be all for nothing.
Yep,
so what will the
all
rest
for
of
nothing.
2023 look like? With this evolution may be different than usual, but I still want to make some educated guesses based on what they've done
Yes,
before,
educated
because,
guesses.
like I said, Sega loves following patterns.
Yes, they do. They definitely do. I guess this like almost on the nose, at least for what they said so far. In July, we're getting the 11th anniversary seasonal event. They told us that, so that's what's happening in July. And in August, we're getting a new mode, which is that quest mode. I don't know about everything else, but the fact that they follow these patterns is just kind of insane to me. Like, you can just guess what's going to happen. Like, you might not get it exactly right, but you can pretty much guess, like, in a broad sense. Yeah, an anniversary event. Oh, here's the new mode as you usually do in August. Here's another thing in October probably. And then in December, yeah, December I said that's when we might get a new planet, new island or something. Maybe level 80. But I don't know about that now. Because if they're going to just recycle every area, I feel like it's going to take a while for them to do that. I guess one thing that I did not guess, because they kind of like switched their plan here. I guess this is like another thing that's kind of evolved is like the story. They're going to be doing story at a faster pace, or at least kind of over time instead of just like in 6-month spans, 6-month chunks, I guess you could call it. I don't know if that's going to be a bad thing or a good thing though, because I said chapter 6 part 1. So does that mean it's going to be less? Like it's not going to be a full chapter? Like are we going to have like a couple quests to do and then we have to wait? Because I think, personally, I would rather have it be in chunks. Like I'd rather have whole chapters instead of it just being sliced up into a million pieces. Like I don't want a story quest every month if I was just going to get it all in one chunk anyways. It's kind of like the same thing with like watching, shows. Like on Netflix, you buy the subscription or whatever. You watch a show all at once, all these shows all at once, what they have, everything, and then you drop your subscription and wait for them to accumulate more shows. And that's how it usually goes, right? you binge watch things. And then that kind of goes for the story here, too. Like, I'd rather be in a binge instead of it be, oh, here's a quest here. Oh, here's a quest here. Here's a quest here. Like, that doesn't feel good to me. I think it's just like another tactic leading into, the mystery or stringing people along with stuff here. Yeah, I really don't like the way that they've been doing things with the ranks and everything, because like it's all the ranks are not like a set level or anything. They're all over the place depending on where they're at. Or just like there isn't really like any rhyme or reason to it. Because if you look at let's see, I think I have this somewhere. All right, so yeah, this is the JP stuff. And like they release difficulties as a whole. You can't quite see it there. Yeah, they release difficulties as a whole instead of it being like ranks at a time. So when they release a difficulty, everything that came out after it would have that difficulty already there. So there's like a base difficulty, so like a minimum level, and then everything above that was just like for endgame players to play instead of the lower level thing. So why don't they do that for NGS? Like, why is it just like so split on like these different ranks? Like, why not they just come out with completely new things to then have multiple ranks for different kinds of players to play? So like if they came out with say, a new zone, then that new zone might have like a level 30 version and a level 75 version or whatever. Maybe like an open world invasion or some reason to want to go back to an old region. Yeah, like it's just like, I don't know, I guess this is like their idea of an invasion, but nothing really is much happening instead of just the enemies being there. And I don't know if this is just supposed to play into, the invasion part of it, but I don't really like the fact that new players are just going to get stomped by Starless in the open world. Because they're putting it in Alio, right? In the exploration zones. So, like, these Gigantics are going to be level 79, and then after you kill the Dolls one, it's going to be a Starless one. And then there's these Recon Gigants that are roaming around in most of the exploration zones, except for Central Alio. So, are they going to just not be able to really farm minerals? They're going to have to be, like, afraid of going around? Because, the thing with base game is that it was instance content, so, like, if a new player hopped in, they were always in the correct timeline. They weren't like jumped ahead, in terms of like things happening in the worlds. Because if you progressed the story, which is all instanced in like these different levels, the lobby would change at some point based off your episode or chapter or whatever. So you would see certain things in the lobby, but other people wouldn't. So it didn't really break the cycle there. Like it didn't break the immersion of like getting through the story on your own. But with how they do it now, it sounds like that's going to be the case. Maybe not in the beginner blocks. Yeah, that's a huge maybe. That's a huge maybe. So far, right now, like there's like no reason to have beginner blocks, as far as I'm aware. Absolutely no reason, because it just separates matchmaking, which is actually a bad thing. Because you can't matchmake with people that aren't in beginner blocks. So, like, a lot of people don't realize that because they don't tell you. So you can't really find players in those blocks. And I don't think there's any change to anything else that would actually matter for people for beginners. New players get into empty blocks too. Yeah, a lot of the time they don't even get dumped into the beginner blocks. They get dumped into somewhere else. Like, I feel like the reason beginner blocks should exist is because Gigantics should be like a lower level, or just like don't have the starless appear, whatever. Like you don't like, go through like a certain point because it's only an Alio, right? Like it's just Alio beginner blocks. So like maybe those should just be lower level Gigantics so they can actually face them. Because in the beginning of the game at launch, the Gigantics were what, 24? Level 24? Because we were level 20 at that point. So I feel like that would be a good option to have players experience it. Because they've just been continuously leveling these Gigantics. Just up and up and up and up. Just keep going. In every single region, there isn't, you know, some at this level in Alio, or some at that level in Retem, or some in that in Caveris. It's just, all it's been continuously going up. I think this update is going to change that for Alio, though. Because it sounds like the level 79 Gigantics are just Alio for now. So maybe it's going to change from now on, but I think it's already kind of like too late. And doesn't really like solve the issue that I've been like saying. Because you still have to be like end game or up to that level point. And like new players that are going to be there are just going to have to like run around like chickens. Run around like chickens. Be like a new space hub, then go from there, yeah. I was hoping like Lucille would be kind of like that hub or something. Like we'd do something with Lucille and it would be like a hub. Lucille lobby, yeah. Or maybe something else that we create. I don't know. I really wish that we weren't on Halpha for another like 2 years, but that might be the case. Because when do you think they would actually like, if they were to go through all the regions, how long do you think that would take for them to do all that? Like for them to realistically give us, you know, stuff in Retem, stuff in Caveris, and then stuff in Castilla, if that is their game plan, you refuse to believe we're going to be on Halpha for another year? You refuse? Well, I mean, 6 months at most. I mean, that's what I said here. Like, I think it's going to be 6 months, like, at the earliest. Or, like, the next major update. I don't know, but you also have to think about, like, the story. Like, how long do you think it'll take to get the story to get to that point? Because it's not just about the regions getting levels as well. It's, like, about the story getting to the point to where we would leave or go somewhere else. Because right now we're going into Chapter 6, Part 1. It sounds like they're trying to accelerate the story, but I don't know by how much. It's not about who cares about the story, it's about, you know, them getting the story in to then fit where we're going to go next. If we don't even care about it, it still kind of ties into what we're going to be going to. Yeah, it seems like they're going to be doing it at an accelerated pace, but I don't think it's going to be like that crazy, right? Like maybe every 2 months? It would be what I would guess. So, Chapter 6, Part 2 could be in August. Maybe later. I don't know. Because I don't think it's going to be in July. Because that's going to be like a seasonal event month. I just don't think that they're going to do like a story chunk every month. That doesn't seem realistic. We get an augment called Halpha and Ally. I was really hoping it meant we were getting off Halpha. Yeah. I think that's what a lot of people thought too. Like, oh, this is kind of like the end augment for this zone or this like island. Thought it was gonna be the finale, the finale of Halpha. But you guys can like understand why this is like all over the place, right? Why people are expecting different things. Because we just saw that with this. They said it was a major update. They called it a major update. They didn't call it an era back here. I mean, they're now calling it that. I wonder how long this era is going to last and how good it's going to be. And what, they're going to do like a version 3 later down the line? Version 3, version 4? Alright, ding ding ding, time to go to Alio for the 4th time. Oh, ding ding ding, number 5, oh, number 23. Good old like Mr. Krabs meme. Day 23, day 365. It's been 84 years. Another thing about Gwiz here, about kind of going back to it being called a major update. Let's see, where is it? The roadmap literally has NGS's biggest update on it yet, and a story chapter before that. Once again, calling it a big update and not an era. So I think they're just like really, I don't know. I think they just dropped the ball. They dropped the ball fucking hard. But I'll still enjoy the creative spaces for what they are, because I'll mess around with them for sure. They're gaslighting is what they're doing. Yeah, they're gaslighting all of us. Yep, gaslighting every single one of us. Yeah, I just wish to see more transparency and no more stuff like this here, where they're saying that there's like a big thing happening. You know, even with the minor things like this. You know, top secret special gift. And guess what that special gift was? More special scratch tickets. And 2 of the creative space tickets, which may or may not be good, I don't know yet, but probably just creative space items. That isn't very top secret worthy. I feel like they could easily just done it like limited time login bonus. That's what they could have done. Because that's what that is. Kind of. You just log in and you get those stuff. And you just get it. Or they could have just not said it. They just could have just not said it and just gave it to us later. Yeah, top secret. It's top secret, guys. Yeah. Ultra Evolution update. They surround their things with mystery to make it so players put this imagination around it to blow it up, to make it better, to talk about it. It's just like if you don't back that up with actually putting stuff in the game, it's gonna hurt you. It's gonna hurt you. So, I guess we'll see. We'll see. I think August is like the final straw for like the majority of people that like care about the combat more than this stuff. This stuff. For me personally, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like, I've been thinking about going to other things. I just don't know. How many final straws have there been? I mean, people have left on each major update before. Like, it's kind of different final straws for people. I don't know if this will be the final straw for, you know, you as an individual. I mean, you'll probably just keep playing. But I think this is like the biggest point in time where I've seen a lot of people just quit or say that they're quit. I don't know if they're actually quitting, but at least they say it. Because, like I said, Injonar quit. Like, they didn't quit playing the game, but they quit doing YouTube videos because of this. Yeah, right here, channel conclusion. Thank you for watching. They pretty much just say they're finished. They're finished, and like their videos were pretty like interesting. They put a lot of work into their videos. Like they had a lot of passion, and it just kind of died. Like history of all of the PSO2 collabs. Like look at that, 2 hours. All 98 chapters. All of those collabs they did research on and put them into some video format for us. Like that's just absolutely insane. So Sega is going to be losing people that create this kind of content. And just like other people that are playing the game that would do creative stuff. Alright, Chrono also did a thing here.
I think the more important the more important thing here was set expectations. Yeah, the whole point is to set expectations better. Would have just been to be transparent, let people know, like similar to how they announced Creative Spaces originally, where they showed like a small teaser.
Basically, the gist of this is he's probably just trying to say that Sega just needs to be more transparent, like with what they show or what they say. Just like if it's going to be delayed, just tell us, and you know, if it isn't going to be as big, like don't call it a major update like that. Just call it the Creative Space update or whatever. Don't set the expectation of it being more than that. And Cropy made a fair point about it being corporate. So it's hard to be transparent when it's so corporate, because you have to go through all these, like, all this red tape to eventually be able to do something as an employee. Like with the community manager here, you can only say certain things. You have to ask people all this stuff, and you have to, like, make sure it's all, you know, set in stone, and, you know, you can't just, like, say willy-nilly most of the time. So it's hard to get past that transparency unless if Sega changes as a whole on the corporate side for that. Yeah, because they've known about this update for a long time, and they already knew about the quest mode for a long time because they talked about it in the last Headline Plus, that they were sat down talking about it into September. So they knew about it, and I'm guessing in December/January it was still the same way. So they couldn't really say it then because it was still the original plan. I'm just wondering when it made the switch of it, oh, it's no longer going to be in June. If it was like closer, like maybe, I don't know, like March, then it would be hard to say, right? Because they haven't necessarily, like it's right, they didn't say what the update was going to be about. They did not say what the update was going to be about. Except for creative spaces and a level increase and new skills and just like more features, new content and more features. So they didn't want to like say, they probably didn't want to say that a quest mode was going to happen and then be delayed to August. Because if they just said that randomly, like in the middle, yeah, I don't know how they would be transparent about this. In all honesty, I feel like the best spot that they could have said it was when they apologized the first time. When they apologized in the other headline, the headline before. Because they had that one, what was it, the producer, developer guy come on.
From Sega. I am the series producer for Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis. I would like to thank all the ARC's operatives for playing NGS.
Yeah, I believe
Thanks
that they
to all of you,
apologize.
NGS will soon celebrate its second anniversary. When NGS first launched, the game had a significant number of bugs due to the transition from PSO2 and suffered from a distinct lack of content, both of which were a source of concern and inconvenience to everyone involved. In particular, it took a long time to resolve the lack of content. This April, we were finally able to complete the release of the 4 regions, their related stories, and the 18 weapon categories from PSO2 that had been planned since the launch of NGS. To be perfectly frank, we started NGS with the assumption that we would be able to deliver regions, weapons, and classes to you at a faster pace. However, once we started, we found that we had more difficulty than expected in operating a system that coexists with PSO2, a setup rarely seen in other online games.
See, like, the way that they're making this apology is saying that, like, moving forward, we're going to be on, like, a more, like, strict timeline. Like, we're going to, like, not delay things. We're going to, you know, from this point forward, we're going to have, like, big stuff happening. Like, we got all the stuff that we wanted out of the way, and now we're going into version 2. This is where the big stuff's happening. This is where we're, you know, gonna go guns a-blazing.
We also had unforeseen delays in the development of open fields and high-end graphics, where we suffered from a lack of experience.
See, right there, they apologized about the open world as well. So you're thinking, oh, they're actually going to put content into the open world that's huge with this update, you know, combat stuff, whatever.
And while we course corrected as needed based on users' reactions to daily updates and operations, we continue to develop the content that was originally planned. It has been 2 years of constant trial and error. Although this situation came about by being overly optimistic, we hope players understand that we have been working diligently for the past 2 years to improve NGS and to make it more enjoyable to play. Regarding how NGS is managed, Hiro Arai and the rest of the PR and management staff are in charge of relaying new information to players, while the developers, myself included, focus on game development. There will be no big changes in our strategy going forward, but I wanted to take this opportunity to speak to everyone because, as I mentioned, we have now completed the release of the main content of NGS planned since its inception, and with the game's second anniversary approaching, I wanted to express my gratitude to everyone again.
I want to hear that part one more time.
Changes in our strategy. There will be no big changes in our strategy going forward.
There will be no big changes in our strategy going forward. Yeah, that's the Freudian slip. Yep, right there. So maybe when this guy said that one line, everybody and their mother was just supposed to assume, oh, it's just the same kind of thing moving forward. Maybe that's what it was. Like, oh, you guys shouldn't have expected all this stuff. Like, what? We just said, we just said that nothing's gonna change. It's gonna be the exact same thing. Oh, God. Yeah, looking back at all these, headlines and stuff, I kind of get, an idea of, what was happening. Because it seemed like the optimism, the way that he said it, it almost seemed like it died early, but I don't think it died early and then course corrected. I think it actually was very recent. I think the optimism was very high even up until the end of last year, in 2022. 6 months ago, I think the optimism was high. Because of multiple instances, I think we saw 3 or 4 now, where they said that the Ultra Evolution update is supposed to be a major update and not an era. It's not supposed to be an era. It's supposed to be a major update. How many years do we have to wait? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess with that one line right there and everything else that we've seen, I think it's safe to assume that going forward, it's going to be the same kind of stuff just from now on. We're going to get a quest mode here and there every so often. We're going to get this neat little feature every so often. There's going to be some cool stuff with the creative spaces and, the LTQs look a little bit better, at least with the Sonic one. I don't know if that's going to be a continuing thing. But I think it's just going to be slow improvements over time, and there isn't going to be any actual major update for this game ever. Nothing on the grand scale that they were kind of saying for this. I think every major update is going to be either a region level kind of update where there's going to be a new rarity. And there's nothing that's going to be just on a grand scale. There's just no way. I don't think the team is large enough for that, or they're capable of doing that in such in a period of time that is worth doing, because if they focus on this grand scale, then they're probably going to take things away from other months. So if they work on a grand scale thing, then we might not get anything for a year or more, who knows. So I think it's just going to stay the same of it being smaller updates throughout 6 months. Maybe a good thing here or there. A UQ or I don't know, whatever. New rank with Geolab rank 2, I guess, and stuff like that. And then the major updates are every 6 months still. But I think this was their shot, and they didn't do it. This was their shot to do something completely ultra evolution-y, evolving everything. revamp, remake, whatever. I mean, there's some people that have spent so much money on this game, it's hard to just leave it. It'd be hard to just leave. I mean, like, also just like the time investment too. Like, that's like one part of it, is like, you've invested so much time already, it's hard to let go. Hard to just go on to something else. That's the thing, like, we don't want to go on to something else. We want the game to be good. We want these exciting major things to happen. We want to continue to play this game. It's just hard for some of us that have been like here the entire time, just experiencing the exact same thing for all this, just over and over again. So over these 2 years plus, with base as well on top of that. We don't always get what we want, though. That's the thing. We should get what we want, because we're paying for this game. That's the thing. We are paying for this game, so if they don't do what we want, they're killing their own game. If they do what they just want, then they're going to kill their game. That's how it works. That's how it works with every game out there in existence. That's what happened with WoW, even though it isn't dead. They lost millions of players. Final Fantasy 14 did stuff people wanted. They grew, to a grand scale above like World of Warcraft, I think, at some point. I don't know if it's still that case, but I'm pretty sure Final Fantasy 14 is just huge because World of Warcraft was fucking up and they were doing good. Now, where's my fishing update? Give me fishing. Yeah, fishing is gonna save the game. No, I am not free to play. I am not free to play with this game. Before I was a official content creator, I was paying for premium here and there, and I mean, if we look in game right now, look at that AC right there, boom. I'm not free to play. I don't spend nearly as much money as other people out there, because I don't really spend on scratches, but I do spend money. It does happen. And there's plenty of other people out there that spend money as well. But if you start losing the people that spend the monies, that's not good. He's got his AC at a discount, don't believe it. It wasn't a discount, but it's still spending money. That's still spending money. This is a redundant question, but how do you like NGS versus the original PSO2? You quit when the level cap was like 20 because there's no content, basically. Let's see. I mean, with base game, the reason why I took a break from it, or pretty much quit base game, was because it was doing the same stuff over and over again, which is what NGS is doing right now. Like, I just straight up stopped because they the only thing that they were doing was just adding like urgent quests, which some of them were good, some of them were basically just garbage. But they were just doing that and just adding, I don't know, the same kind of content, I guess, at least at the time. What kept me playing it was just like the alliance that I had. Like, we were a pretty active alliance at the time. One of the top 10 on the ship, because we got that little trophy thing or whatever. We were just playing all the time. But I basically quit when they actually started to do good with the game, honestly. Because with episode 4, like, I don't like this from a story standpoint, it wasn't the greatest, but they're adding like a whole bunch of like more concerts, more modes at that time. The Scion classes or like the advanced classes. So I kind of screwed up when I quit. But I mean, I played other games, so it was like whatever. And I had college to do, so I was a bit busy. Quite a bit busy. But then I came back to NGS shortly after launch. I didn't play right away. I think it was a little bit before Brave, or I think it was right before Bouncer got released, because I think Bouncer released first. So it was like a couple months after. That's when I started playing. That's pretty much I've continued from then on, for the most part. So I have been playing NGS longer. I think another part of that is because I've been doing content for the game, like streaming, YouTube, or whatever. If I was not streaming or doing YouTube, I think I would have stopped again. It's just like in the same kind of rut. It's just like going through the cycle. Yeah, people say that there is no content now with NGS. Like, there is. It's just you go through it like pretty quick, I would say. And like a lot of it doesn't have much replay value. So like once you get it done, it's just done. I think Global just got used to being spoiled, honestly, though. I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's the case. If this was like a normal headline, I think people would be like just praising this headline. Like if it was just called Creative Spaces Update, I think people would be praising this headline. Because it's actually kind of crazy with like how much they delivered on in terms of like the quality of life, cosmetic, creative spaces, whatever. And like the new Sonic event with the LTQ is pretty good looking. I don't know how it'll actually like function when we play it, but it looks way better than the other LTQs that we played. So I mean, but because it was called a major update, Ultra Evolution version 2, it's bad. That's why they overhyped it immensely.